Happy New Year! Hi, y'all. Welcome back. Happy Wednesday. Abbott Elementary Wednesday. I am Audrey B, aka Authentically Audrey B, aka AAB TV. And if this is your first time watching, welcome. If not, welcome. It's been a long 2 weeks. I missed y'all. I missed our show. And again, this is another Abbott Elementary review for season 2. And this episode is titled Read-A-Thon. So let's get into the video. Yeah, I'm so happy to be back. All right, y'all. So the opener of the show, we are getting very much awkward, and I'm talking about awkward interaction between our girl Janine and Greg. Of course, you all know the last episode before we went to break, they was in a club. They almost kissed. They was feeling each other. It was a whole thing, y'all. So they're like back from break now, and they're, again, like I said, they're talking to each other, but it's kind of like awkward. They don't know really how to approach because they had that moment where they almost kissed, and now they're back at work and they're got it kind of like, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to say to you or whatever. And Ava's kind of like in the background, and I believe she was with some other teachers, and she's kind of like, this is too much. And she goes and she abruptly interrupts them and basically like, y'all doing the most over something that didn't even happen. Like, stop it. And in the midst of her doing all of that, she mentions the Read-A-Thon. Now, I don't know if they have that here where I live, but there was kind of something like that back in the day when I was younger, where kids read and just read, pushing reading, and you get a reward. Now, for this show, the reward was a pizza party and just the recognition, and also this like wrestling belt that has like pizza on it, like really cute little token to let you know like whose class basically read the most books during a significant amount of time. So back in the day, it was you read the book. I think maybe you had to list all the books that you were reading somehow. You showed your teacher, and they gave you coupons to get a personal pan pizza from Pizza Hut. And when I tell y'all, reading, especially in elementary school, was my favorite thing to do. It was my favorite thing to do. And I remember as a little girl going and having all those stickers and having the paper filled out and handing it to them and just feeling like $1,000,000. So I could see why the teachers were very, very like excited about this friendly competition, should we say. So again, Ava interrupts and she's talking to Janine about it, lets them know that basically here's the paper and it's coming up, like get your class prepared, do what y'all do. So because Greg didn't really know what it was, Janine, explained it to him or whatever. He was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And she's like basically saying, she wants her class to win, and a lot of teachers take it serious. And as soon as she said that, in comes Melissa, our other girl, Melissa, and she's like running it and just being like super serious about it. Like, we're gonna kick your class's butt, we're gonna get that dub, we're gonna win, we're gonna get the victory, like just talking smack. And so that stirred up something in Janine to where she decided like, hey, like if you gonna come at it like that, I'm gonna come at it like that and watch my class beat you. Because remember, they're both second grade teachers, but Melissa has a third grade class inside of one room with her second graders. And so they go back and forth about that. And as Janine's leaving out of the lounge, she sees Jacob in the hallway, and he calls her over and is like super excited because he wants to start a podcast club, which is all the rage this day and age. And he's excited because he's got 2 students that signed up for it, and he's just all about journalism and talking about the first person to ever do a podcast, and how it's just gonna be so dope for him to do it. And he sees Greg as well and lets him know, like, hey, somebody signed up for our club. And Janine kind of looks at him like, wait, you're a part of this? Like, you volunteer for this? And it cuts to like a confessional with Greg, and he basically lets us know, like, hey, I volunteered for this and I signed up for this after school, like this extracurricular activity, because you get them coins, like you get extra money. And according to Greg, his finances are the source of some tension between him and his relationship, or his girlfriend, Amber. So maybe there's a little bit of static going on there, and he's trying to like up his ante because she wants to be winded down, I'm sure. Because y'all remember when he was talking to Barbara's daughter, she called him a broke boy. So he's not trying to have that happen again, I'm sure. So again, they both decided they're gonna be like the running and being the producers of this podcast club with these two students. So then they're, go throughout the day, and Janine comes down the hallway because she sees Melissa. And again, they're constantly just talking smack about, my class is gonna win. We got the most books. We're doing this. We're doing X, Y, and Z. And Melissa's like, so how are you able to just let your kids just read all day? And she was like, well, I came up with a lesson plan, or a way to cram all of my math lessons into one for the next 2 weeks or so, she said, I think. And so she opens her door, and she's got her room like this whole reading oasis. Basically, they got the colorful tents. Everybody has their own individual tent, and they're just reading, because they're trying to get the belt. They're trying to get, the pizza, and just the accolades, the recognition of being the class who won the Read-A-Thon. And so that kind of stirred up something in Melissa this time, to where she's like, oh no. So she goes to her room, and she's giving her class this pep talk, like, look, I don't care what y'all do. Y'all gonna read when you're here, when you're at home, no matter where you are. And one of the kids was like, well, what if we gotta take a shower? And she's like, put the book in some plastic and keep it moving. We're gonna beat Miss Teague's class if it's the last thing I do. So she's getting her class amped, ready, and they're like, yeah, we gonna win. Kids love competition. And so she's like calling up, like, I think she had like three or four of her best readers, and she was like, look, y'all, I need y'all to put in overtime. I need y'all to put in work. I don't care what y'all do, but y'all make sure that y'all read, because y'all are my strongest readers. I need y'all. We got to win this. And they're like, we got you. And then the inevitable happens. Some kids get sick, and it's her best readers, and they have to go home. And she's like, what the heck is going on? This is gonna like put a dagger in my plans. Like, oh my gosh, I gotta the ante. I gotta do something to allow myself to win. I can't let Janine or Miss Teagues, I can't let her class win. And she's bummed out about it. And Janine's in the hallway when she sees, her students that are sick having to leave with the nurse. And she starts talking smack herself. She's like, yeah. And she's kind of like mimicking Melissa in a way. And they're just looking at her like, oh, okay. And then she's talking all this smack. But then she runs off like a little scaredy cat. It was so funny. But I really enjoyed that, like, back and forth with him. So then later on in the day, the two are meeting up in the library, and again, still trying to like place these bets on whose class is gonna win. And they actually do place a bet. First, Melissa was like, whoever loses, they gotta streak at a basketball game or something like that. And they was like, no, that's like totally like losing dignity. And so they was like, well, since you want to talk about losing dignity, how about whoever loses has to go on Jacob's stupid podcast show, because I know that's gonna like make us feel horrible by being on there, because again, it's a stupid podcast show. And they're like, all right, cool, whatever. So they make that bet and keep it moving. So in the meantime, all of this, we see the two students that decided to be a part of Jacob and Greg's podcast club, and they're coming in thinking, that they're going to be able to just run the podcast like the podcast that we listen to. And they even mentioned Joe Budden's podcast, which I know is a very popular one. I do not know the name of it, but I see clips of it everywhere. And podcasts, like I said before, are like top tier these days. Everybody got a platform, everybody got podcasts, whether it's for relationship advice, whether it's for just hot topics, whether it's for the tea, the gossip, like it's religious things, like it's all the rage. So Jacob is giving them the rundown of things that he wants to be done. And again, he's taking this super, super serious because he wants to have this journalistic view, and he's got this thick script of how he wants things to be ran. And Greg is just playing the background as the producer to throw in a couple of sound bites here and there, say cut, say action, whatever. And so the boys are basically kind of like, they're excited, and like I said, they're coming in thinking that they'll be able to make their podcast like the ones that they listen to, or their parents or their peers listen to. And they mentioned Joe Budden, and they even let Jacob like hear a snippet of it in the earphones, and he was like, that's a little inappropriate, like I that's not what I'm trying to do. So once they get everything together, they start talking, and then they're like running through like a mock episode, I guess. And they get to talking about what's going on in the cafeteria, who's the cute girl, rumors being spread around. And all this time, Ava's in there kind of overseeing how things are going. And Jacob is like, this is not what I wanted. Like, this is not how it's supposed to go. And Ava's like, look, hush. Let them talk about what they want to talk about, because I want to know the tea with these students too. So proceed, please. And so they eventually record an entire episode, which we didn't hear all of it, but we can tell kind of how the flow was going. So as all of this is going on, Janine and Melissa come back together, and basically Janine accuses Melissa of cheating because somehow she knew the numbers, or have seen the numbers, or heard about the numbers of books that some of these students are reading, and feels like they're just putting down any number just so they can win. And Barbara's around, and she's like basically kind of mediating the situation, and she's like, hey, Melissa has cheated, but she'll never cheat with this or whatever. She's fair when it comes to this. And like Melissa's upset, and she's like, how dare you say that I'm cheating and all this other stuff. Like, I'm gonna prove to you that we're not. So Jenny's like, yeah, whatever. So I guess that sparked some type of like I know that it hit a nerve for Melissa. So she goes to class, and she's everybody's reading, and she's looking through the list, and she calls up a student of hers, a young lady, and she's asking her, what book are you reading? And the girl can barely pronounce the title of the book. Then she's like, I seen here that you read 25 books here and 10 books over here. Can you name some of the characters? And the girl says, Beyonce. So you can tell kind of like, something's not adding up. So the girl is like putting 20 on 10 with all these books that she's reading. And Melissa's feeling the same thing too, because she's looking at the student like, I know you, and like, you struggle with reading, you struggle with comprehending things that you're reading, you aren't up to that level yet, so what's really going on? And so she's like, this must be basically like what Janine was talking about. So she decides to call a meeting with this girl's parents, her mom and her dad, and they come in and they bring the little girl. She sits off to the back, and she's got books, but she's not really reading them because, again, she struggles with reading. And she's telling the parents just about the Read-A-Thon. She's telling them about the numbers of books that they are saying that she's won. And the mom is just like, she did read them. She is reading. She reads all the time. And she even goes so far as to ask the little girl what one of her favorite characters are in the book. And the little girl just kind of like give her like a little halfway answer. And she's like, see, I told you there's nothing wrong. The dad is kind of looking between the mom and Melissa, kind of like, I don't know where to butt in at. But the mom is just like adamant, like, there's nothing wrong with my daughter. She's fine. She's at the level she's supposed to be at. But the whole time, Melissa's trying to explain to her, like, I know that she's not reading all of these books because she's showing signs that she's struggling with reading, with comprehending what she's reading. And I'm not telling you that there's anything wrong with her, but I want to test her to see how we can help her succeed and be more successful with reading. But of course, as a lot of parents do, when you mention these things that their child is somewhat, I guess they feel different. The mom became offended and they storm out or whatever, and Melissa's kind of like, I don't know what y'all want me to say, but I know y'all fronting basically. And I'm just like, dang, like it just shows you how I just love this show so much because it really does show you kind of like an inside scoop of how some of the things go in school, not just elementary, but in any school where, again, you're trying to help the students succeed, but the parents don't always, some are not always on the same page. And it causes like the student to fail in a way if the teacher and the parent cannot come to some type of common ground to help and work together and get on the same page to allow the student to be successful and get the help that they need. Because again, like I said, parents don't want their child to be singled out. They don't want their child to be made fun of and all other stuff, or be looked at as different, or they may feel like they're a bad parent, or they, you know what I'm saying, like somebody's like coming for their parent style or teaching or upbringing or whatever. But it don't even be like it. It don't even be like it. It don't even be meaning like that. It's all for the betterment of the children, people. But again, like I said, they stormed out. She was offended. And Melissa was just like, well, I mean, it is what it is. After basically going over the numbers for the both of the second grade classes, Melissa announces to her class that Miss Janine, or Miss Teagues, her class won the Read-A-Thon, and they were kind of bummed out. But like she told them, like, at least you all were reading, at least you all like loved it and y'all enjoyed it and y'all put y'all best foot forward, and I'm proud of you all. But at the end of the day, everybody got pizza, so we're all winners around here. And so then the girl that the student that she had the meeting with the parents with, she raised her hand and she just asked her, like, now that the Read-A-Thon is over, like, basically, can I stop reading books? Like, sis, I only did it because I wanted to win and we didn't win, so what's the point? And she like kind of looked at her like, ugh, and then called her out into the hallway and basically asked her a couple questions like, hey, do you struggle with reading? You don't like reading? And the girl is like, yeah, how'd you know, sis? How did you know? And she gave her some advice. She gave her some tips and some tricks. And she gave her a book that she had when she was younger that a teacher gave to her with some pointers and some things she could do to help her comprehend what she's reading, and to let her know, like, I was once in your shoes, but here I am, a teacher, and I overcame this, and sometimes I still do have to reread things and take my time, but no matter what people say about you, like, you continue to just be yourself and be confident and ask for help, and basically just pouring into this child like a lot of us good teachers do when we can notice some things, and even when other people don't notice or don't want to admit, we still pour into them and give them, like, take them to the side and give them a little bit of coaching so that they can be successful and know that you care. Like, that's like what teaching is all about, being passionate, right? Being loving the child and caring for them and seeing their potential and trying to like bring that out of them. So I thought that was very sweet, and also we could tell like that was one of the reasons why she was so passionate about that student, because she was once that little girl. So I thought that was pretty dope that she found it in her heart to give away something special to her, so that the little girl can know, like, hey, you're not by yourself, which a lot of kids feel like they are. So while this is going on, Mr. Jacob is going to Ava's office to return the podcast stuff because the boys quit. Why did they quit? Because Jacob censored their whole entire episode. He edited, cut, and scratched and mixed and did all that stuff, and it was not the episode they recorded. They were upset about it. They didn't feel like that was fair, and it didn't go with what they wanted to do. And again, Jacob just took over. He had that takeover spirit, and again, they just quit, and he was pretty bummed out about it. But like Ava told him with her, like this whole episode, like not this whole episode, but this whole season, have y'all been noticing how Ava, even though she's still Ava through and through, she's been still giving her little Ava isms, her Ava advice, and it's really been refreshing to see, because again, even though she'll try to act like she don't care, she does care. And she basically told Jacob, like, hey, you wanted them to do what you wanted to do. You didn't allow them to express themselves. You didn't allow them to give you any type of ideas, and you didn't listen to them. So no wonder why they quit, bro. Like, you need to apologize and see if they'll come back, basically. Like, and you know that helped him to see things in a better light. So after the Ava and Jacob situation, and Melissa talking to her student, they're Melissa and Barbara, they're like, hey, they're in the lounge, and Barbara's like, sorry that you lost, but at least you gained some, type of like help as far as like with your character and how you poured into the child and all this other stuff. Like, don't look at it as a loss. Like, you still won, because again, everybody had pizza at the end of the day. Excuse me. And so in comes Janine, still riled up, amped up, and just boasting and bragging and rolling all on the table in the fact that she won, and she had the wrestling belt, or the pizza belt, the Read-A-Thon belt with her. And she's just like excited that she won. I told you we was gonna win. I told you. I told y'all. I told y'all. But then we see Melissa has this paper, and she's just reading, and she keeps reading, and she's like, I sometimes have to go back and reread things to make sure that I understand what's going on. And sis, it says right here that basically like the total of the entire class that is the one that wins. And because I have two classes in one, add those totals of the books together, that means my number trumps your number, Janine. So pipe down, because I won again. And I was like, woo, how the tables turn. And Janine just sat there with the Read-A-Thon belt on her shoulder. Melissa happily grabs it. And I'm just like, see, that's why you don't need to be going around bragging and putting stuff in people's faces, because them things gonna come back and bite you right in your butt. And as soon as you think you're doing a little something, you're gonna get humbled real quick. And even Barbie was sitting back there like, told you. So I thought that was so funny. I was just like, well, sorry for you, Janine, you didn't win it this time, sis. And then the episode ends where we see Jacob and we see Greg. They are back in the classroom with the podcast crew, and the boys came back, and Jacob just basically told them, do y'all. And so he introduces them, the name of the podcast, and it was Janine, because she lost, she was the guest. And from the moment that she asked, so what y'all want to talk about? Since y'all got me here in the studio, they went in. Oh, did they go in? How did they go in, you ask? The first thing out the gate was, so my mama said she saw y'all at the club grinding on each other. Is that true? And her eyes got so big. She looked at Greg. His mouth was wide open. And they was like, what? Wait. What? What are y'all talking about? And then they still, yeah, because such and such said that they saw y'all outside together, and such said y'all was this and y'all was doing that. And the whole time Greg is like, okay, like, Jacob, ain't you gonna step in? See, this is not the way that you wanted the podcast to go, bro. And he's just like, no, this is the journalistic insight. This is what I need. This is what it's all about. And he's just, like I said, let him have free reign. And they're steadily questioning him, like, hey, y'all ain't answering the question. Y'all trying to escape from answering these questions. We need it. Like, we need the tea. Like, what's up? And Janine's like, I wasn't outside with him. I was outside with his friend Maurice. And then Jacob's like, what? So she's spilling tea that that Greg don't even know about. And Jacob's just sitting back, just letting it all happen. And the boys is just like, what's up? This is our podcast. We want to ask questions, so y'all gonna answer them or not? And they just both kind of look at the camera and it just goes off. So Janine and Greg, the talk of the town, I see, which I love it. I'm here for it. Because they either need to get together or forget it forever. Honey, don't nobody want to keep on playing with them. But I thought they were so funny. I mean, they shocked me with them questions because I was like, oh, they got their business all over the school, all over the town. But again, this was another good episode, y'all. Did y'all think so? I thought so. And if I missed anything, let me know in the comments. As always, thank y'all for watching and commenting. And I will see you guys next week, right after we watch America's favorite show, 3-time primetime Emmy-winning show, Abbott Elementary. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of y'all week. Peace.